Hey guys, what's that name? Fire! Joy, give me the extinguisher. Got it? Dude, boom, we put that fire out, baby. Fire Safety 101. Welcome to the class. That's how you put out a fire. All right, so today we are gonna be talking about fire safety. We're gonna be talking about suppression systems, extinguishers, alarm systems, all these different things. But first, you gotta like, comment, subscribe, show some love. I'll just wait here until this button goes off, until the fire marshal turns it off, you know? So you got all day, you know, you can like twice, you could like a couple times, you could comment a couple times, subscribe. You got all the time in the world, right? Okay, let's get into it. So fire safety, we're talking about fire suppression system, fire extinguisher, fire alarms, emergency lights, and fire sprinklers. And there's a lot of different fire safety things that you should be aware of when you're thinking about opening up your own adult daycare. And we'll kind of go into these different things because some of them are gonna have annual costs, some of them will have 6-month inspections, some of them will have monthly ongoing costs, and you may not be aware of all of them. So first, a fire suppression system. This is typically gonna be something that you're gonna see in a kitchen, in a commercial kitchen. So if you have any sort of cooktop or stove tops, and you have a vent system in there, then you're gonna have a fire suppression system that's gonna actually put out any sort of like grease type fires. And typically, again, this will be in like a kitchen setting. So if you have like, if you have like a stove, or if you have like something where you're cooking on a hot surface and you might be, putting grease on that surface, or you might be cooking something that has grease in it, okay? Then this is gonna be where a fire suppression system comes into play. And now, this is something that will be inspected every 6 months. So you'll have an inspection, that you'll have a company that you work for. Oh yeah, these green dots mean that there's a third-party service provider that you'll probably work with, like Piper Fire is one here in Florida. There's another one called, I think, B&I Contractors. These guys, they basically are ones to certify and inspect that fire suppression, extinguishers, and sprinkler systems are all working properly, and they'll tag these different units. So in the fire suppression system, they'll come out every 6 months. They'll make sure the suppression system is good, and that everything involved with the suppression system, from the actual bottle of suppressant, I guess you could call it, to the mechanism that makes it work is working properly, and they'll certify that every 6 months. Your fire extinguishers, these will be certified annually, and sometimes you'll have to actually replace them, I think, every 5 years. So they usually have a 5-year life on them, but they'll be inspected at least once a year and then tagged, again, by a third-party service provider. Number 3 is gonna be your fire alarm system, okay? So this will be a system that will have a fire alarm control panel. So if you've ever seen those designations in a space that say FACP, that's fire alarm control panel. That is where, if there were to ever be a smoke detector were to go off or whatever, this is gonna be what's gonna call the fire department. And it's kind of like an automated system, but this fire alarm panel, it has to be inspected regularly. The smoke detectors have to be inspected. So this particular unit will be inspected annually. Now all of these things I'm sharing here are gonna be how it's done in the state of Florida. Every state might be a little different as far as how their code operates, but in the state of Florida, this is how we operate, and just to make you aware of these different things. Now, your fire alarm system is going to be monitored by a fire alarm monitoring company, and so you'll have to hire someone on a monthly basis. You might pay for this quarterly, you might pay for it monthly, but this will be tied into a dedicated phone system. It'll have a dedicated phone line tied into a phone line that'll tie to your fire alarm monitoring system. So if, for whatever reason, a smoke detector did go off, they'll immediately, this is a 24/7 hotline, so they'll immediately be contacted, and they'll go ahead and kind of dispatch the, basically, the local fire authority, or your local fire fighters. But they'll also kind of call and say, hey, do you know of anything going on? Tell us the location. What's happening. So a lot of times they'll call you too. But this will be tied to a monthly fee. So you'll have an annual inspection, but you'll also have a monthly reoccurring cost or a quarterly reoccurring cost with a fire alarm monitoring system. The next one will be your emergency lights. Now, this doesn't necessarily get checked by a third party. I mean, you could have this done by a third party, as long as you instructed them to do so. But a lot of times this might be something that you might check, okay? And you might be going around to all of the emergency exit, lights, whether that's emergency lights or emergency exits that have lights on them, and you're checking to make sure that in the event of a power outage, that those emergency lights would come on. And they come on due to a battery that is actually inside the unit. So sometimes it might be a battery that you would have to replace. Sometimes you might have to replace the unit depending on if it has a bad battery, but you want to check these things on an annual basis, and you definitely want to check them even more often. But the reality of it is that when you have your fire inspection, which is going to be done annually by your local county officials, you're going to have, this would be part of their inspection. So you'll want to at least inspect it annually yourself to make sure, okay, are all my emergency lights working? Are my exit signs working? If the power goes out, all of these lights are going to come on. Is the light burned out? Is it a light problem, or is it a battery problem, or is it a connection problem? So make sure you're looking at that. Last but not least, your fire sprinkler system. If you have a fire sprinkler system, which you may or may not, and depending on the location of where you're at and whether or not you're leasing a space or whether or not you own the space or whether or not you've had to get the sprinkler system added because of the local county codes, or you were able to go without. Either way, this is going to depend a lot on your particular space and if you're responsible for it, or if your landlord's responsible for it. But this will have an annual fire inspection. You'll at least be responsible to make sure that the landlord's responsible if that is the case, because the reality is this is all going to kind of tie back into your licensing, and your licensing with the state of Florida for your adult daycare license. This would be something that would be important for it. Now, if you don't have this sprinkler system, it may not matter. But if you have it, they're going to be going around and checking to make sure that everything's working properly. They might do a system pressure test to check that the system pressure is okay and acceptable, and it can meet the the pressure demands that might fluctuate in the fire sprinkler system, because these pipes are pressurized, and typically they're pressurized at a much greater level. These are bigger pipes. If there's a fire going to come out, they check those little bulbs. I don't know if you've ever seen them that have that little red mercury stick. So they'll go around and make sure that those don't have any paint on them. They'll make sure that there's not too much rust, that they're in good condition, good working order if something were to happen. And this will be an annual inspection. And again, this will be checked by a third party. So these are all the different fire safety pieces of equipment or inspections that you're going to have: suppression systems, extinguisher, alarm systems, emergency lights, and sprinkler systems. You may have all of them, you may have some of them, but just to make you aware of how it works. So there's a lot that goes into fire safety. And you'll have your annual county check too. So that being said, guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something on this one. Thank you guys so much for joining. Make sure you go to our private Facebook group, adcpro.com, adultdaycarepro.com. You can find that on Facebook. You can join our monthly webinars, which we have every month. You can also check us out on YouTube for all of our past videos. We have a ton of information on there, and we've actually broken out into different categories, from financial to operations to marketing and all that different stuff. So we broke it out into different categories just for you guys to make it a little bit easier. So go on there, check it out, leave a comment, comment, subscribe, show some love. We'll see you on the next one. Now let's get back to work. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to learn how to open your own adult daycare center, go to adcpro.com. If you'd like the latest business tips, click here, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Click here. We'll see you guys next time.